So it's a lightning talk. We got a fast-paced talk with Rotem Reiss, who is a product security manager at Playtika. And he is a bug hunter and a code addict. You're a code addict. It's better than being not an addict. Anyway, I had a terrible joke. I'm not going to say it because my daughter is here. He's a code addict who has contributed to many open source projects, that's right, such as OWASP, Metasploit, and Grafana. His shift from InfoSec into AppSec, shift from development to AppSec, was greatly influenced by his security research uncovering DrupalGeddon 2. DrupalGeddon 2. You hear that? And he has found and disclosed multiple CVEs in well-known products like Elasticsearch, Grafana, and others. He believes that organizations should be defended with an attacker's mindset. And that right there is exactly what BSidesTLV is all about. So, Rotem also co-organized the first Israeli bug bounty community meetup. Now, please help me welcoming to the stage, Rotem, let's give a warm welcome to Rotem Reiss, who's going to talk to us about the missing piece, adding automated role-based access control checks and authorizations in your pipelines. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah,
okay, she whispered, she told me what's going on. Okay, let's give a warm round of applause to Rotem Reiss.
Thank you, Karen.
Rotem, thank you for sharing the stage with my Rotem.
Sure.
She's quite a diva, like her mom. All right. Bye, everybody. Okay.
Cool. So, hello, everyone. I'm super excited to be here. As Karen said, this is my second time in a row in BSidesTLV, and I hope that it will be a new tradition. So, let's talk about the missing piece in the CI. So, just before that, I'm Rotem. I'm leading the product security activities at Playtika. I'm also a bug hunter on my spare time, and an open source contributor, as Karen already said. So, I'm going to jump to the next slide. So if you still didn't get where you are, so we are here to discuss about authorization in your pipelines. And this is going to be a 10-minute talk, so I'm not going to deep dive into the details. So if anyone wants to know more, you can reach out to me later. So let's start to talk about authorization first to understand what is authorization in the first place. So in authorization, we have two main issues mostly. One is unprotected resources. For example, if we have 4 API endpoints in our application, and one of those is API/admin, we want to make sure that this route is only accessible by a specific role, by admins, of course. The second issue that we might have is IDOR, insecure direct object reference. That means that one user shouldn't be able to access another person's data, like order or profile or whatever it should be. So we are going to focus this talk even more. Again, this is a lightning talk. So the focus here is going to be on SaaS platforms. And why SaaS platforms? Because of multiple reasons. One is that usually SaaS platforms has multiple roles, at least, let's say, admin and a regular user. And also, they are usually multi-tenant applications. That means that we want to make sure that one company can't access another company's data. And also the fact that usually startups are behind those kind of SaaS platforms, on a lot of cases at least. And SaaS platforms have the nature to grow fast and to have some huge number of technologies and to compromise on the security for moving again fast. So let's talk for a sec about the birth of an authorization bug. This is not that different from any other software development lifecycle in general. The first phase is that we have the analysis, usually done by the product team. And the product team should define that we have, for example, a specific functionality, and that functionality should be accessible by a specific role. And after that, we have the design and development phase where the architect or tech lead and developer working together to actually develop the feature. And after that, hopefully to test it before it goes to production. But we are going to see that it's not that easy. So since every presentation nowadays have to have something with AI, so this is my contribution of AI, a quote by ChatGPT, but eventually what I'm trying to say is that seeing is believing, so let's jump into the demo. So for the sake of the demo, I created a mini vulnerable authorization application. This is available in my GitHub account. You can access it and start it if you liked it. This application has multiple API endpoints, as you can see on the screen. For example, API/admin, as I said before, and other endpoints that we are going to see how we are enforcing the role-based access control during the CI. So I'm going to start from the end to the start. So here you can see the end result. The end result is that we have some kind of a documentation as code in our GitHub repository with the role-based access control metrics that defines which API endpoints we have and which are accessible or which should be accessible by the different roles and persona that we have, in this case, user and admin again, and the results of the test that we have in the CI. Moreover, we can even create issues, it could be Jira issues or GitHub issues on a case of a violation from the policy that we defined. So how did we do, or how can we do that in the CI? So I used the almighty Nuclei, and if someone here doesn't know this great tool, so go ahead and read about it. But this tool is mainly for discovering vulnerabilities as a vulnerability scanner for things like cross-site scripting issues, SQL injection, or known CVEs, but it was never intended to be used as a tool to scan things regarding authorization, violations, or things like that. So how does it work? The tool in general, it's using YAML templates for its work. And you might say to yourself, okay, my developers aren't going to actually create YAML templates when they're developing a new API, and that's correct. So the way that I'm showing here is only one approach, which is to use a script that I prepared. The script asks a few simple questions, and then it creates the templates that we need for the authorization checks in the CI, and then it looks something like that. It keeps the structure of the API in the directory in, again, our repository, everything as code, and we can see API and then user address, and we have two YAML files, one for admin and the second for user, with the same HTTP method, get. So what we are going to do about that? So eventually, we have, for example, the route that we want to test, API/admin, and we want to get the results, whether this passed or failed. And as you can see here, we have the two templates, pretty similar to what we've seen on the previous slide. And then we have the severity field in the YAML. Again, this is all the structure of Nuclei. I didn't invent anything new. I just used one tool for achieving the role-based access control. And I used the severity, I kind of abused it even, to declare whether this test should be successful or not. So in case that the user should be able to access that specific route that I defined, the severity will be informative. Otherwise, it can be anything else. It could be a medium, high, critical, whatever you prefer, and you can even create different severities per case if you want to define that a specific route is more risky than the other routes that you have in your application. You can also see that I used some metadata for my scripts to run more easily, nothing too fancy or too complicated. And one more important thing is that we are using the match logic in this case to match against the HTTP code 200, but not on all cases this will be the case. So we might have a case where admin, a request to a specific API will return something for admins and will return a different body, maybe even another property or something like that, to another user in a higher role or a lower role. So you can match the logic and you can do whatever you want as limited by Nuclei, and there are not a lot of limitations in this tool in general, so that's good for us. You can see here the example of unauthorized request. As I said, the severity is high in this case for a user and not for admin. So did you say CI? Yes, I did. So let's see how it runs in the CI. So in the CI, we have two main interesting parts. The first part is uploading the artifacts of the Nuclei scan as an artifact to the workflow that I ran. In this case, you can see it here. And the second interesting part is the role-based access control metrics, as I showed at the beginning. So this is the end result of that. So let's do a high overview on all that to understand the overall flow. So we have the developer needs to create a new endpoint. They are creating the new endpoint, and then they can use the script to automatically add the test to their code, and then it will run in the CI. By the way, I didn't mention, but you can even use Swagger annotations to automatically generate the tests in the CI. So I didn't do that in this example that I created, but this is for sure possible. And in the CI, it makes sure if we have any RBAC violations. In case that we have RBAC violations, it can fail the build and also create a ticket, as we said, and updates, of course, the role-based access control metrics report. That report can then be used by the product team. So an important piece of that is that product teams not always have the information on which API endpoints they have and what is the permissions matrix in their SaaS platform or in their application. So here they can use it in an easy, visible way to actually understand what they have in their application. And in case that the build has passed, then it goes live to production or whatever you want to do. So just to wrap up, authorization bugs could be your biggest nightmare, especially in SaaS platforms, and you might think that it's impossible to cover it in the CI with some automation, but that's wrong, and I'm here to prove it. We didn't talk about IDO. That's correct if someone noticed, but this is because we don't have a lot of time, but it is possible, and I demonstrated it on some local POCs that I did. And of course, check out the demo project if you want to contribute to that or to ask questions. Feel free to ping me there. And of course, embrace cultural improvements. Make sure that your product teams and the developers are working close together to make sure that you are eliminating all the bugs and reducing the risks while designing your products and applications, and don't wait once it's already on production. That's it. Thank you. If anyone have any questions.
All right, all right, all right, all right. Thank you, Rotem.
Thank you.
I have to thank you twice.
Why?
First of all, you're a great speaker, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Second of all, thank you for looking at that camera right there. And third of all, thank you for sharing the stage with my Rotem.
Sure.
That's, I'll never forget.
my honor.
Yeah, it's my honor. Thank you, Rotem. We've got a small gift for you. All right, all right, all right. This next talk is one that the entire CFP review team was curious to hear. And that's why we have it at this time of the day, so that we, the organizers, can actually enjoy this talk ourselves. So this next talk, we have a dynamic duo of two speakers that are going to share their wisdom, and they're first-time speakers. So I want you to give them all the love and all the warmth and all the caring that the